Bye-bye. Let's go. Alert level 2. Line number 2. Line 2, Shane, you're on the air.
Well, we're not in alert level 2 yet, Paddy, but it's getting there.
Here we go.
Saturday, right?
Come on with it.
I just wanted to talk about an article I read this morning from Elections NL. About Elections NL, sorry. There's one from NTV, there's one from you guys as well on VOCM. Elections NL admits to allowing 4 people to vote by phone illegally. And in here it says that the Chief Electoral Officer made the determination to break the law. So I'm wondering when we can expect the RNC or the RCMP to have this man arrested and charged with elections fraud.
Well, the votes weren't counted, so I guess if there's no fraud that was executed, no fraud charges will be brought. For me, it's just
fraud was executed. It was just that it was caught by somebody, and then they had to stop it. So the fraud was executed.
So
he did fill out ballots for people. Okay. No. That was more of a facetious question to allude to the fact that there's no accountability for any of these people. He gets to break the law. It's very clearly he broke the law, and you guys wrote about it as well as your competitor. So the only reason that we know about it is because somebody else happened to notice that he broke the law and then stopped it from happening. But he did break the law. He filled out ballots for people over the phone, and he's the Chief Electoral Officer. So shouldn't there be some accountability for this man?
I think there will be, Shane, to be honest. I think just based on what's gone on here, and its appointed position, I can't predetermine the future. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I would suggest there's going to be a pretty big shake-up at Elections NL in the form of accountability. Do you?
I would certainly hope so. I would hope that the prerogative of the minister who's listening might be able to weigh in on this, because I'm trying to figure out, I mean, if you break the law in your position, you're certainly not staying there and hosting Open Line for the next foreseeable future.
I wouldn't be hosting it after the break.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, now we have, you're private, and then we have public, and the public people are actually supposed to be accountable to us. We're actually paying their salaries. We're actually hiring them through voting. So these people are actually supposed to be accountable, right? You would be in a private, and then your business would deal with it however they saw fit to deal with it. But that wouldn't be up to me, because I'm not an owner of your business or a director or a manager or whatever. But the government is different. They are supposed to be accountable to us. So if a Chief Electoral Officer who knows bloody well that that's illegal what he did, and there's nobody in the world that can tell me any different, he knows he broke the law when he did what he did.
Well, he knows because he said so. I mean, it wasn't so long prior that he said, no, we will not be voting by phone. It's not permitted inside of our Elections Act. They made reference to BC, but the legislation was clear out there. They had provisions to accommodate that. So he said it. And he even said, boy, how quick would I be in the courts if I allowed vote by phone? Then lo and behold, out of the clear blue sky, all of a sudden, he was allowing vote by phone. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know if they're mesmerized because of all the pressure that's been put on them, but there is absolutely going to be accountability at Elections NL. I can't imagine a scenario where there's not.
I would hope you're absolutely right on that. And I did listen to those quotes again. I don't have them readily available, but I did hear those. So, I mean, he's very clearly aware that he broke the law. And if I'm not mistaken, there's actually a statute of law that talks about if you're aware of the law you're breaking as well, because there's also an unaware breaking of the law. So, yeah, I'd just like to know why. And another, just an open-ended question, and this is not based on anything, but if there's 4 people who were allowed to vote by telephone, what are the chances that there's other people that tried this too? And what are the chances that maybe some other people had their ballots filled out by phone? How do we know it's only these 4?
When push comes to shove, again, these are just it's me surmising. I would imagine that people are going to have to answer questions like that in the form of written affidavits and very likely inside the walls of a courtroom. Because if I'll be a monkey's uncle if there's not a legal challenge to this. So those questions as to whether or not it happened in other circumstances where we didn't know beforehand and intervene to see that those votes weren't cast by phone, I got a funny feeling we're going to hear answers to those questions.
Yeah, I would certainly hope so. Absolutely. So I don't really have anything else, Paddy. I just wanted to kind of bring that up because I read that this morning and I was just kind of, my jaw hit the floor and I'm thinking, our top dog at the elections office is knowingly breaking the law, and we're kind of just writing articles about it and shrugging our shoulders. I don't really see anybody. I posted it, and a couple of people kind of said, "So what? At least they got the vote."
Yeah, well,
I'm thinking to myself, well, listen, how do you know he's even writing down the right thing? You know what I mean? If I put myself in the place of the electoral officer, and you're calling in and you're saying, "I want to vote for my NDP candidate, whoever," how do you know I'm marking that down for you? How do you know I'm not marking down the PC candidate for you and putting it in the ballot?
These are all fair concerns, and I'm not shrugging my shoulders. In fact, with the...
No, I don't mean to say you were. I meant more of just an online presence from people I've been talking to about it this morning. That's all. I didn't mean to imply you.
No, I'm not taking offense. I'm just saying that I think the vast majority of the voting public here in this province are taking these issues very seriously. Now, how we're going to be able to deal with these issues after the results are understood, we'll see the machinations of the different political parties and what they're thinking that they might do insofar as legal challenges. I'm not going to be surprised if there's a coalition of voting citizens that take up the charge as well. So, and I assume, again, assuming is dangerous business, but after Saturday, on Monday, immediately, a lot of the attention in the province will turn to whether or not this election will be upheld. So I think that's in the offing, and that will come with a level of accountability that will be spread far and wide, and rightfully so.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my last point. If we know for a fact that there's election fraud happening in this election, it's been admitted by the person who committed it, can we even have an election? Shouldn't this election be postponed until we can rectify the fraud that's been proven to happen and been admitted to happen by the top dog of the elections office?
Well,
it seems strange to proceed with an election we know has fraud in it. Like, we can assume there's fraud somewhere down the line in something, but we never have proof of that. But when you have the person who committed the fraud admitting to committing the fraud during the counting of the ballots, that, to me, says we should probably not have this election.
The fact of the matter is, even if it's going to be challenged, what the province also needs, in addition to the special warrants that were granted, and there's $2 billion has been approved, we still need a government back in place to deal with a couple of pressing matters right away. Let the legalities be challenged. Let the courts decide if that's where this ends up. But I don't think we can say that something is invalid now and go right back to scratch at number one, everyone re-vote, considering the fact that there's still going to be a problem with in-person voting. We're still going to have special ballot confusion. We're still going to have questions of integrity of special ballots. So I think we just go right back to square one without actually advancing our own individual cause. Let's get the results. Let's swear in a government. If people think we need to go back to the polls, I guarantee you the opposition parties, they'll challenge the first non-confidence opportunity, which will be the budget, and back we go.
Yeah. Now, you did say we need a government, and you're absolutely right, we do. But the government that's currently in place doesn't need to be unseated. They don't need to legally hold an election for a while. So we do have time to postpone this. We can remain with the current seated government and postpone this election results until we can figure out the fraud that's been admitted to, and then redo. Like, we could still have a government seated. We're not in some limbo now with no government.
Well, we kind of are.
The legality of their election call doesn't need to happen, I'm almost certain, until the summer or after the summer, in terms of the time limit. I don't have that in front of me. I'm just trying to go off my memory. He called an election earlier than needed to be.
Yep.
So he still does have, I think there's a 5-month grace period there before the legality of it. So there could be a postponed election. He could still keep his Liberal minority government sat and continue to govern the province.
We could have gone all the way to the fall. I mean, that's the reality of it all. I've got to get off to the break. They're flagging me, Shane, but I appreciate your time and the call this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you, Paddy. Take care. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye. All right.